pleasure is mine.
The story of Miracle Rogue is a journey that begins in the earliest days of Hearthstone. We whisk ourselves back nearly 4 years to the May season of 2013. The alpha of Blizzard's up-and-coming collectible card game was underway, and the first iteration of Miracle Rogue was on the rise. Attributed to a player named Travis, the deck gained immediate traction, not just for its burst potential, but for its iron consistency. It took advantage of questing adventurers, Edwin Van Cleef, mana addicts, headcrack, and powerful card draw to crush its opponents. A few features of these early variants might surprise Hearthstone players today. Edwin used to summon with stealth, Conceal used to cost 0 mana and give permanent stealth to a single target, Mana Addict used to have a +3 attack buff per spell, Gadgets and Auctioneer used to cost 5 mana, Shiv used to cost 1 mana, Backstab could target damaged minions, Headcrack used to cost 2 mana, which led to easier combos. One of the key cycling components was to combo Novice Engineer with Shadow Step, which provided even more fuel to the deck's robust cycling engine, and lastly, Rogue's hero power used to be more powerful, adding +1 attack for additional uses rather than simply replacing the weapon itself. The deck was crushing opponents left and right. While today's Miracle Rogue offers up a lot of plays that are nearly impossible to deal with, these early versions of the deck were a nightmare. Seemingly broken mechanics in today's competitive scene can't even compare to what Rogue could pull off in its prime. The banhammer was already being prepared, and it came down hard in October of that year, smashing over half the deck into a new shape. Miracle Rogue's demise was inevitable and would finally be back in balance with the rest of the game. The archetype was quiet for many months, but with the help of several key theory crafters, namely Kalento, Rogue refashioned its daggers, and as early as February 2014, the Hearthstone community witnessed the rise of Rogue once again. Cards that pushed most of Rogue's damage in the early days, like Headcrack and Mana Addict, were nearly unplayable after the nerfs. Kalento realized that it wasn't the burst potential that allowed for Rogue's dominance. The difficult part is being able to find it and be able to consistently bring it out of your deck and into your hand. Deceptively, this was Rogue's true mastery, being able to cycle efficiently and find whatever burst the current game mechanics would allow for. With Backstab, Conceal, Shiv, Edwin, Mana Addict, Headcrack, and the hero power itself all suffering significant nerfs, the archetype had to redefine itself. So Kalento adapted the true strength of the deck, cycling cards, into a new style of Miracle Rogue. The deck took advantage of other cycling mechanics at the time, like Nat Pagal, Cold Light Oracle, Acolyte of Pain, and Fan of Knives. This new version also included new ways to stall the game, since it needed more time to assemble the cycling and combos. Lastly, Rogue found its strongest ally in Leroy Jenkins, who could be played, Shadow Step, played again, and Shadow Stepped again. Used in combination with Cold Bloods and Eviscerates, no health total seems safe from Rogue's new devastating burst. Proving once again to be toxic to the health of the meta as a whole, the archetype rebounded brilliantly until the proverbial banhammer came down once more, this time targeting Leroy Jenkins. Since the alpha, other nerfs had piled onto some of the cycling mechanics, namely Nat Pagal, Fan of Knives, and Novice Engineer. At the onset of Naxxramas, Gadgets and Auctioneer took a huge nerf, finally moving in cost from 5 to 6 mana. At the time, the changes seemed sufficient. As other classes gained new cards and mechanics, the speed of the meta outpaced Rogue's ability to sustain its nerfed combos. Rogue went quietly into the night once again. But as you might expect in a few short months, the rise of Rogue was upon the meta again. Once again, Rogue reinvented itself, adapted, and used some classical mechanic concepts to reassert dominance. 3 things have been key to Rogue's adaptations over the years. The first, again, is finding new ways to cycle the deck. Post-Naxxramas, cards like Azure Drake, Thalnos, and even Sprint have found their way in and out of lists. The second is Burst, taking advantage of new and old mechanics for assembling incredible amounts of damage for a single turn. Mana Addict, Leroy Jenkins, Questing Adventurer, Malagos. Even recent lists have been experimenting with Red Mana Worm. The third is finding enough time to perform their combo with cards like Lotheb, Sludge Belcher, Antique Healbot, Deadly Poison, Shadow Strike, and the list goes on. The function of these cards is simply to ensure the consistency of cycle and burst by buying time. It seems no matter what cards get nerfed, what cards rotate in and out of standard completely, and what new cards are introduced, the archetype finds a way to assemble these 3 components into what we've come to know as the Miracle. One takeaway that might be important to remember for future theory crafting in Hearthstone is this: while the meta defines itself between aggro, mid-range, and control, between counter picks and tech choices, it seems that Miracle Rogue will always be sitting in the shadows, waiting for its chance to strike when the meta is right. Its capacity to cycle is unmatched, and simply drawing cards is the key ingredient to what always allows Rogue to rise again. This is our stab at what we've been calling a mini documentary, offering a different flavor than the regular meta breakdowns and deck introduction videos. If you enjoyed this type of content, please let us know in the comments, and of course, subscribe to our channel and check out all our other Hearthstone content, including a closer look at how to pilot the most current iteration of Miracle Rogue.